Donald Trump ran a clinic on lying with statistics regarding the NFL nonsense, and I thought that this would be a really interesting thing to go through. I've been doing this, as some of you know, I'm teaching as an adjunct professor at Boston College, and we've had a number of class sessions on media literacy. We've talked about lying with statistics. We've talked about basic critical thinking skills. And there's lots of really great examples of how one can lie with statistics and manipulate data in really any number of ways, including visually, including other ways. So here's just a couple of examples, and then we'll get into what Donald Trump did, right? So imagine the statement: our graduating class earns an average of $85,000 per year within 5 years of graduation. Now let's keep that up, because there's a few ways that this can be incredibly deceptive. Number one, is there a built-in bias here? In other words, was responding mandatory, or are you more likely to respond to a survey asking about your income if your income is better? If you graduated from whatever school is touting this statistic and you're only making $22,000 a year, are you even going to respond? So is there a built-in bias? Another key point here is the use of the word average, an average of $85,000 a year. Average could be the median, average could be the mean, and average could be the mode. In this particular case, median would really be the most representative of how the overall graduating class is doing. Your mean could be heavily upwardly skewed by a couple of people making a ton of money. It wouldn't really represent what most people are making. And then you also have correlation versus causation. Our graduating class earns an average of $85,000 per year within 5 years of graduation. Are they earning that because they graduated from your school? Or are the people that get accepted to your school, whether they go or not, already more likely to earn more money because they are of a certain, academic caliber that would get them accepted in the first place? In other words, it would be interesting to compare how much are people making who were accepted to the school but didn't go, right? So correlation versus causation. Here's another way that you can lie with statistics: truncating the y-axis of graphs. Lots of really good examples of this. Here's a Fox News graph of the change in the cost of gas. And I think this was from the time when President Obama became president and they wanted to sort of make it appear as though gas prices were way up under Obama. By only showing you a chart that has sort of as its upper and lower limits $2.90 per gallon and $3.60 per gallon, the uptick of 30-something cents in gas per gallon seems really big, even though it's only a small increase. This is truncating the y-axis of a graph.
Even the x-axis on this one. I mean, look, you got last year,
and then last week,
and then current.
And then
what
currently,
is that?
Yeah, that also doesn't make any sense. Another example of truncating the y-axis: if the Bush tax cuts expire, right? This is during President Obama's presidency. What will happen if the Bush tax cuts expire? You see on the left, that's a very, very low amount. And on the right, wow, look at that big bar chart, and it looks like it went way up. Well, the entire graph only shows you from 34 to 42%, and you're talking about a 4.6 percentage point increase. And one more example of lying by truncating. This one is just a mess. This is job loss by quarter. And if you look at this one, and I'll describe it to the audience that's listening, you have an uneven y-axis and a totally bogus x-axis. You have a different amount of time between each of the points on this graph, and you have different amounts of jobs, and it's just a straight line. I mean, this one's so crazy, Pat, that it's hard to even dig into what's wrong with it without spending an hour on it. Okay, so background, many ways to lie with statistics. This now gets us to Donald Trump. There is another way to lie with statistics, which is called ignoring the base rate. I'm going to give you an example of ignoring the base rate. If I tell you crime is up 5% in New York City, that means policing in New York City is a disaster. Compared to no change in crime, crime being up 5% is bad. But what if I told you that the nationwide crime rate was up 20%? Well, if nationwide crime is up 20%, and in New York City it's only up 5%, that actually means New York City is doing pretty well in terms of change to crime, right? That is called the base rate. Donald Trump went on Twitter And he started trying to pat himself on the back, saying that as a result of the criticism of his his sons of bitches in the NFL comment, that people immediately started boycotting the NFL and that ratings are way down. So Donald Trump said on Twitter, quote, "If NFL fans refuse to go to games until players stop disrespecting our flag and country, you will see change take place fast. Fire or suspend." Donald Trump also on Twitter, "NFL attendance and ratings are way down. Boring games, yes, but many stay away because they love our country. League should back the United States." And lastly, Trump on Twitter, "Great solidarity for our national anthem and for our country. Standing with locked arms is good. Kneeling is not acceptable. Bad ratings." So the implication here is, because people are not happy with the kneeling during the anthem, because of what Donald Trump has been pointing out, the bad ratings are happening. Trump is responsible for telling people, don't watch the NFL, boycott the NFL. Now, it is true. Compared to prior years, NFL ratings are down. And part of it might be there's just more competition, there's more things to watch. Part of it might be people are getting more accustomed to not watching stuff live because of on-demand TV. Part of it could be the concussion crisis, right? Making people less interested in football. There's lots of systemic things going on. But this particular Sunday, as well as Monday Night Football, ratings were actually up. ESPN sports business reporter Darren Ravel was on Twitter, and he said preliminary ratings for NFL games on CBS yesterday were up 4% versus week 3 of last year. Its pregame show had the highest viewership in 7 years. Then you have John Orand, a media reporter for the Sports Business Journal, on Twitter. Overnights from Fox and CBS pregame shows were up 19% yesterday combined. Also mentioning overnights from Sunday's game are down around 4% on Fox, CBS, and NBC combined. Week 3 likely to be up once Monday Night Football gets factored in. So Donald Trump it's really a textbook example of lying with statistics. Trump is talking about statistics more broadly and over time being down for the NFL. He might be lying. He might just be distorting on purpose. We don't really know. But many sports have ratings that are down. Specifically, after this kneeling crisis, though, the NFL actually had higher ratings. Trump is ignoring the base rate, which is background of lower ratings. Higher ratings this past Sunday.
And the other thing that Trump and maybe Fox News will do is just omit information. So a new jobs report will come out, and it'll say that the economy added 200,000 jobs and then unemployment ticked down to 4.3%.
Sure.
We'll scale that back a little bit. It's just continuing the trend that we saw under Barack Obama. It's not like Trump came in with bad jobs numbers and turned the whole thing around.
And not only that, also, these are very similar jobs numbers that under President Obama were both not good and fake, even though they all came from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So yeah, there are endless examples of this. And if this type of stuff is interesting to you, I'm sort of thinking about taking the 75-minute lectures that I'm doing in the class I'm teaching at Boston College, where we talk about a lot of this stuff, and turning them into maybe like YouTube lectures, hour and 15-minute YouTube lectures with the slides that I use and talking through a lot of this stuff. When I mentioned it on a live stream not long ago, a bunch of people seemed really interested in it. But it's a major project, right? Like we're producing an hour a day, 5-day a week national show. And we're doing a whole bunch of other stuff and doing YouTube live streams. Taking these lectures and slides and making 75-minute videos is a major, major project. So I would love for it to work, but I don't know yet how we'll do it.
Well, we already have those deeper dives, which are maybe 20 minutes long. If we had an hour-plus long content for this kind of stuff, it would be a deepest dive.
It would be the deepest dives ever, folks. Believe me, I would have never seen a deeper dive than when we do the online lectures. So if it is interesting to look at doing something like that, let me know. More interestingly, if maybe you would want to help out and participate in making that happen, that would actually be the most interesting thing, because our resources here are stretched pretty thin. So get in touch. A lot more of this media literacy, critical thinking stuff is available. And you can, of course, discuss any of these stories with us on our Reddit discussion forum, davidpakman.com/REDDIT. We'll take a break and be back with more right after this.